Hey everyone, Alex Gotcha fans coming at you guys in a video. Today's going to be a review on Ultraman Rube, the movie Select the Crystal of Bond. So, I personally thought this movie was pretty alright comparing it to the Geed movie. Now, I think that there are different problems for this movie versus, say, the Geed movie. I think that the narrative writing, at least in the second act, is a lot stronger than most other Ultraman movies. And I'm going to be going into the reason why. And there were just a lot of aspects that I really enjoyed about this movie. I'm going to say that I didn't have that many problems with this movie, but I think that some of the problems still do tank the movie. Even though they are minor, they are still a little bit severe in regards to how this is going to affect the movie. But either way, though, let's just talk about the plot as we always do. So the main plot, I would say, focuses more on Katsumi versus Isami. The movie really just focuses on his character, his goals, and his own interactions. And I'd say that that's pretty interesting. The reason why it made me think of this is because I was watching an Ultraman Rube review by Tokukast just 2 days ago, and in the review they say that the main character should have just been Katsumi, and you could definitely see that this is usually the case because this entire movie focuses on Katsumi the most, and if anything focuses on the Riku, a secondary character, even more than Isame. But either way though, the whole plot begins with the battle between Ultraman Raso, Ultraman Blue, and Ultraman Geed, who are fighting against Bemstar and Gan-Q. And we basically see Ultraman Raso, who is stuck in between a building, and it's pretty interesting because I've never really seen that before. Pretty comedic way to start off the movie. The movie has the beginning, and it's told from the first half of it is told from a flashback from Katsumi's perspective. 1 year has passed since the finale of Ultraman Rube, and everyone's just been kind of moving along with their life. The mother has become the head CEO of Eisentech. The father is still running his fashion business. Isame wants to go to college in California in the United States of America. But Katsumi, on the other hand, he doesn't really know what he wants to do. So this whole movie is him finding his dream and what his purpose in life is going to be. And so, Katsumi reminisces over the time that he had played baseball with his friend Toy, and Toy was this intelligent, inspirational person who wanted to design video games and make kids across the entire country and potentially even around the world just smile and be happy, as happiness is of course a theme within this show, as we do with characters such as Asahi. Now, in my opinion, maybe I missed this, I don't know, it's been a while since I watched Ultraman Rube, and to be quite frank, the series wasn't as memorable as I thought it should be. I don't know if Toy was a character in the series, and I don't think he was, but either way though, I wish Toy was a series character because he's just subtly introduced in this random miscellaneous flashback, and all of a sudden Katsumi, for the convenience of this movie, realizes that, hey, I have this friend that I literally haven't seen in a while, and not just 1 year, but probably over that time, maybe I should go visit him. And so Katsumi goes to see Toy, and he finds out that Toy is a complete and total scrub and a loser. Toy, at this point, is no longer the charismatic, young, handsome, endearing young man that he once was that Katsumi knew, but instead he's an emo punk who plays video games in his room all day while his mother cleans around the house and makes some food. It's honestly pretty disappointing, and even Katsumi points it out that he has really changed, and that Toy's motivation for being at home is simply because he got a generic job in the game industry. And so Katsumi says, wow, you've really become a different person. You're really quite a loser. And Toy says, oh yeah, well at least I didn't drop out of college. And I was thinking, dang, Toy just roasted Katsumi. He got him so good with that comeback, and so he's done for. Katsumi goes on to leave Toy's house, and he joins up with Isame and the father, and together they are spying on Asahi because they think she has a boyfriend, because Asahi is getting really popular, and the dad is a little bit paranoid about that. And let me tell you, the sequence where they're all walking around the little neighborhood park area and they're pretending to spy on Asahi, that moment was absolutely hilarious. I think I actually had more of a reaction to that scene alone than I had in any other thing that I've watched in a while. That was just hilarious. They were saying, Falcon 1, where are you? Where is she? They were just really looking for her, and it was so funny. Like, Falcon 1, who is that with Asahi? oh no, it's a boy. It was absolutely hilarious just seeing them in camo decked out and trying to spy on Asahi in that park. That was one of the funniest scenes ever. And so it turns out that Asahi is with somebody, but this somebody just so happens to be Riku, who is the human host for Ultraman Geed. Of course, I don't know that. While they are talking to Riku, Bemstar as well as Gankyu suddenly emerge from a portal and start attacking the city. And so we have this even funnier sequence where Rosso and Blue are about to transform, and so is Riku, but then they see each other's transformation devices and they run to different alleyways to transform. And so when Rosso and Blue finally emerge, they see Ultraman Geed and they say, oh, wait a minute, you're an Ultraman too? Go figure. That was absolutely hilarious. So, what we have here is a pretty decent fight. This fight wasn't that remarkable. I'm going to be quite frank, it was actually kind of a forgettable fight, but it was pretty neat to see Geed and Blue really work well together. And even Hatsumi makes note of it, that they make a really good team, as a matter of fact. So, after the trio defeats Bemstar as well as Gankyu, the whole family, along with Riku and Pega, decide to have dinner because, of course, Gankyu actually had Pega. And the scene where they actually rescue Pega, where Ultraman Rosso and Ultraman Blue use their water and wind powers to rescue Pega, and he just starts screaming and screaming. Whoa! I don't know why, but that was just so funny, seeing him frolic around all over the place while getting hit by water. That was just really amusing to me for some reason. Either way, though, all of them have dinner, and it turns out that, in this sense, Riku reveals to Asahi that he is in fact the son of Belial. And I have a few problems with this scene. First of all, when she tells him that he's the son of Belial, Asahi just reacts with, oh, Belial? Like, she actually says Belial? And I'm just sitting here thinking, you should know who Belial is, because Belial is literally a crystal. Belial actually appears in this movie with the other Ultramen during a transformation sequence. So if anything, you should know who Belial is. But then again, I understand this, and this is also the problem with alternate universes. Which shows such as, the greatest example I can think of is a show such as Ultraman Orb or Ultraman Ginga S the movie. In those shows, Belial appears in these alternate universes, but most of these characters probably don't know the implications of him appearing unless they're from the M78 universe. Otherwise, they just see Belial and they just figure, oh, it's another random Dark Ultraman, but they don't understand the relevance of his existence. And so when Riku tells Asahi that he is the son of Belial, it doesn't come off as this terrible thing where she says, oh, really? Or something such along the lines of, oh, that's terrible, I hope you're a good person. But no, it just comes off as saying that your father is such and such, because they don't really know or care who Belial is. Either way, that was just a random nitpick, I guess, in regards to that. So, anyway, we have Tregear come out of a computer screen, I believe it was, and he talks to Toy, and Toy talks to Tregear about wanting to resurrect or bring to life his monster creation. It reminded me of Gavidon from the original Ultraman. Do you remember in the original Ultraman episode with Gavidon, who was just a drawing of a kid who wanted his monster to come to life, and then the sun somehow brought the monster to life because it was shining some sort of solar rays at the drawing, and then the drawing became the monster Gavidon? Well, that's exactly what Tregear does here. He brings to life Toy's monster, and the name of the monster is Snake Darkness. I'm sorry, oh man, Snake Darkness. What a generic name. I thought Ultimate Final was a... Hold on, let me just say this. Super Right Productions, you kind of need to get cooler names. Ultraman Geed, Ultimate Final, Snake Darkness. These are some really generic, lame names that are just two words put together. It's not even clever anymore. It's just Ultimate Final and Snake Darkness, which is pretty funny because Ultimate Final does appear in this movie later on when he fights Snake Darkness. So it's the battle of the lame names. Either way, though, Tregear talks to Toy and he says, oh, Snake Darkness. And then Toy says, yes, I want him to be the strongest one of them all. And Tregear says, oh yes, you are an absolutely wonderful artist. Oh man, Tregear, he's really something else. Tregear, he's just a funny guy. So Katsumi, he later on in the day goes to talk to his friend Toy, and he even brings him the baseball, and Toy wants him to go away, and Toy even starts getting really angry. It says he doesn't want to see Katsumi, and this causes Katsumi to go into an emotional breakdown. He starts crying, but eventually Katsumi goes to a dark alleyway, another one in this movie, and he kicks something, and then all of a sudden a TV comes on, and it's Tregear. Tregear's back. He just appears in all the screens of Japan. What I really like about this movie is something that I like to call narrative tension, drama. Tregear does the very classic villainous aspect of his role in this movie, and that is giving an ultimatum to our hero. Tregear appears from the television, and he gives an ultimatum to Katsumi. He says you can either live your life as a normal human being or you can be Ultraman. But in order for you to be Ultraman, you have to be able to save this planet of Pigmon from Mecha Gamora. Oh man, Mecha Gamora is in this movie. Mecha Gamora is something that I like to call a member of the unholy trinity of Ultraman, where basically the unholy trinity of Ultraman, as I like to call it, consists of Mecha Gamora, Galactron, and Gubila. So the last movie, the Geed movie, that movie had tons of Galactron. Mecha Gamora is in this movie, so it's only a matter of time that we see Gubila once again in something. He was in Saga, and he's been in all the Ultraman series. So, yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Katsumi, of course, goes with the morally correct decision, and that is to become Ultraman and be able to stop the Mecha Gamoras. So Katsumi goes to the planet, which consists of nothing but just Pigmon and random green crystals, and he fights the Mecha Gamora. Ultraman Rosso completely destroys Mecha Gamora in just a couple of seconds. It's not even much of a challenge. Mecha Gamora gets wasted. And so he reverts back to his human form, and that's when suddenly Snake Darkness comes out, and that's where Snake Darkness is revealed to be Toy. And what's pretty ironic is that this was just a throwaway line in the movie, but they really went really deep with this, and I thought that this line alone had some very deeper implications, but they don't do anything with it because, in my opinion, Tsuburaya Productions doesn't like to go deeper into methodical methods and methodical lines and thought pieces. But there's this line in the movie where Toy, as Snake Darkness, gets hit by Ultraman Rosso, and he says, I thought Ultramen were supposed to protect living things. Well, a kaiju is also a living thing. And I was thinking, whoa, even though it's a pretty basic line, the fact that it made the character have to think for a minute, that's something that Ultraman villains or characters don't really do a lot, and that's make the audience members think a little bit. Because, of course, the whole point of the premise is just to have good triumph over evil 24/7, but never actually question the moral implications of that triumph. But either way, though, Snake Darkness manages to defeat Ultraman Rosso, and he's left to die on the planet Katsumi. It's literally, he's dying of thirst on the planet because there's practically no water until the Pigmon come to rescue him. And so Snake Darkness eventually goes to Earth via a portal from Tregear. There's so many portals, but I actually like these portals. Every time something comes through or exits a portal, you can hear a sort of laugh like, I actually really like the laugh, to the point that when Tregear appeared to taunt Katsumi on the planet, I did the sound effect as soon as he left. I was thinking, man, it's kind of catchy listening to that laugh every time the Tregear's portals pop up. By the way, though, Snake Darkness starts causing destruction in Nayaka City, and this is where we have our three characters emerge. But first, we actually have Ultraman Blue as well as Ultraman Geat emerge to stop the monster Snake Darkness. And at one point, Asahi decides to intervene. Asahi becomes Grigio Regina because she thinks that girls can fight. Of course they can. And let me tell you, this was such a funny scene. When Snake Darkness flies, I actually kind of like Snake Darkness when he flies. When he flies, it reminds me of Gazoto or something along that range, or Ligatron. It's this monster that doesn't have wings, but it has these sort of engine flight. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but if you watch the movie, you might be able to get what I mean. It's a very unique way of flying that they don't do with a lot of monsters, and I actually quite like it. Either way, though, Snake Darkness, he blows up Blue, Geed, and Grigio Regina, and then he starts causing destruction. And at one point, this random, let me tell you, straight out of Shin Godzilla moment, the Japanese Prime Minister or some government official straight out of Shin Godzilla appears in the movie, and he says, "Oh, the government are taking precautionary actions to stop the monster." And so literally the scene actually made me laugh. I didn't even take it seriously because I thought it was a parody scene for a second. It felt so out of place. You have the main characters lose and the monsters destroying things, and then the Japanese government official, it's not even a couple of them or any generals, it's just one guy in a suit just comes on. It's almost as if Tsuburaya just filmed that last second of some guy talking, and they get this Japanese government official and he says, "Oh, we're gonna take our actions against the monster." And so literally all the JSDF does is launch 4 missiles. These random missiles just come out of nowhere and they hit the monster, and it's not even that it has no effect, but it just happens, and I'm thinking, really? That's it? Just 4 missiles? Where was the rest of the military? I think the last time the military has ever officially appeared in Ultraman was the Origin Saga, when Gaia was having the military fight against the monster, which was pretty cool to see. It was just a couple of tanks on the freeway, if I recall correctly, but the military doesn't really appear a lot in Ultraman, which is understandable because they usually just have a monster team, but Ultraman Rube doesn't even have a monster team. So where was the Japanese government in the Rube series? Can you imagine how much those missiles could have helped against the hundreds of monsters that attacked that same city a year ago? Either way, though, oh man. So anyway, we have everybody trying to figure out how to rescue Katsumi because he's stuck on the planet, which turns out to be Horst 21. First of all, Horst 21? When they said Horst, I literally thought of Horst Wessel. If you don't get the reference, look it up. I'm not gonna say it, but either way, I thought of Horst from Horst Wessel, and then Horst 21 is basically a ripoff of Saturn. It's literally the same planet as Saturn. The image is just Saturn with a different color filter on it. Even the characters in the movie say, "Oh, look, it's the rings just like Saturn," but the picture they use is literally just Saturn with a different color filter. So eventually they use Pegasus Dark Zone to be able to bring back Katsumi as well as the Aizen Tech headquarters to finally be able to bring Katsumi back to Earth. Which is pretty funny because even Traeger questions it. But either way, though, Geed, Rosso, and Blue, and Grigio finally fight Snake Darkness one last time. And so Traeger comes in, and Traeger, he always points his finger at something. I love Traeger when he points his finger. He's just saying, "How did you get back here?" Even he was confused. That was a funny Deus Ex Machina. They just bring him back, and Traeger, even he's perplexed at what just happened. This movie just had stuff happening. It's pretty hilarious. So that's where we have Asahi. She's starting to lose as Grigio Regina. All the characters get knocked out of their powerful forms. And so Saki, the spirit of Saki, magically manifests itself in front of Asahi. And she says, "Oh, Asahi, you're great. You're such a legend. You gotta be happy all the time." And so this is when Asahi, after talking to Saki, gets a new crystal. And she becomes Ultra Woman Grigio. And what do I say about this? I don't know. Ultraman Grigio, it just happens. You know, this movie just happens, as always. The Ultra Woman Grigio pops up and she says, "You know what, someone as bad as you, Traeger, needs to be punished because you're making people suffer and you're not making me happy." And then literally, Ultraman Geed, Rosso, and Blue, they're just sitting there and saying, "Hey, Traeger's behind you." And Grigio's just saying, "Oh, wait, I'm so sorry." And then Traeger, he's over here pointing with his little finger, he's always pointing at the cameras. He's saying, "Who the heck are you? Where did you come from? Well, I'm gonna beat you up." And so that's when all the Ultraman characters start to fight. And this is where we have our main characters stand up to Traeger and Snake Darkness. And there's this one funny moment where I thought it was pretty funny. So, and usually in our modern day society, it's wrong for men to hit women, of course. And there's one part where Traeger literally just punches Ultra Woman Grigio. He just punches her off screen. I'm saying, oh my goodness, that was so brutal. And even Traeger says, I'm sorry, little girl. Oh my goodness, that was, man, I lost it. When he just punches and kicks her. Ultra Woman Grigio, she's pretty weak, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, she's pretty strong, but she's pretty weak too. She's able to heal all the other Ultraman characters back to their normal color timer modes, but she tries to punch Snake Darkness and it literally has no effect on him. But at one point, Traeger again, he just punches her off screen and Traeger says, I'm sorry, little girl. And I was just thinking, dang, Traeger, at least you have some decency about it. Even if you are, it's almost as if this is just all a game. Like, everybody's just playing as Ultraman in a game. And it's not even as if nothing's at stake anymore. But either way, though, we have this moment right here where Traeger again gets the advantage. He talks about sadness and loneliness are the stronger bonds than family, and he knocks all the other Ultraman characters out. He even manages to knock Riku out of the battle, and so Riku is stuck in his human form, and that's where we have Toy's mother start to arrive, and Toy's mother gets to the battlefield, and she's looking for her son, of course, and Riku tells Toy's mother, hey, your son's Snake Darkness, he's this dumb name of a monster, look out, he's gonna kill us all. And so Traeger tells Snake Darkness to step on his mother, because he doesn't like this lovey-lovey, dopey stuff that's going on. I think that's literally what he says, lovey, dopey mom stuff. And so Toy, he starts to come back to his senses, he thinks, oh wait, no, I can't do that. And then Traeger says, oh no, you better do it, and so he starts using his darkness to manipulate Snake Darkness. I just realized how silly that sounded. Traeger uses his darkness to manipulate Snake Darkness. Okay, but either way though, we have all the characters get knocked out really badly by Snake Darkness and Traeger, and eventually Katsumi, Isame, and Asahi use all of their crystals together to literally merge 3 Ultras. I think this is the first trio or Trinity fusion we've seen since Saga. I think so. But either way, though, unless you count Ultraman X as Beta Spark armor, but either way, though, all these 3 characters become Ultraman Groob. Oh man, let me tell you, Ultraman Groob, that's a pretty funny name. The names in this movie are just ridiculous. This movie is just silly. Ultraman Groob appears, and this is where he's saying, oh look, another Ultraman, let's go fight. And so they go zipping and zagging through the city. Ultraman Gi transforms into Ultimate Final, and he starts beating up Snake Darkness, and the battle just goes on until finally they blow up Traeger, they blow up Snake Darkness, and the movie ends. We cut to the resolution. This is where we have Toy with his mother, and so Katsumi and Toy are crying with each other, and Katsumi gives Toy the dumb baseball that they were throwing around. What is up with Ultraman and baseball? We've seen this trope since Ultraman Dyna. It's getting a little bit old, don't you think? Either way, though, he gives him the baseball, and so Riku returns back to where he came along with dumb little Pega, who's never gonna go away, most likely. And this is where we have Katsumi realizing his dream. His dream in life is to learn more about fashion. And so his dad tells him that, oh, I have a friend in Milan that could help you, and you should probably go visit him. So Katsumi and Isame, they go their separate ways, and that's literally the end of the movie. Okay, now that I'm done with the whole plot, let's talk about my thoughts on the movie. First of all, let's get the sort of elephant out of the room, Traeger. I think a lot of people are going to want to know what I think about Traeger, because in the Nebula M78 Discord, I almost forgot to tell you this, I didn't even say this in the Geed review, but we have an Ultraman Discord server where we talk about Ultraman, Super Sentai, Godzilla, Kamen Rider, even other off-topic discussions. If you want to join the server, I'm going to have a link to it in the description below, so just go click that, and you can go join the Nebula M78 Discord server. It's a lot of fun. You'll meet a lot of good people from Instagram, YouTube, the Ultraman Wiki. it's really nice to just meet the people. It's a great community. But either way, though, I've been going around the Discord server telling people Tregear is Mebius, Tregear is Ikari, Tregear is stupid. I just go around saying that kind of stuff, but I literally had never seen anything with Tregear. I haven't even watched Taiga yet, which tells you something. I'm gonna watch Taiga starting today or tomorrow, so don't worry. I'll get to Taiga and I'll finish it in due time and have my own review of that. But either way, though, I just thought Tregear looked kind of silly, and in hindsight, I think Tregear, I actually like Tregear a little bit. I know this sounds weird because I have been so set on not really liking Tregear. I had my standards really low. You have no idea, because I thought that the best New Generation Ultraman-related villain was Orb Dark. I thought Makoto Aizen, which was brilliant, and Super Eye Productions killed him off. Not literally, because he ran away from the show, literally, but they killed him off figuratively too soon because I wanted to see him shine a little bit more. But Tregear, he's actually pretty interesting, and I think the biggest problem I have with Tregear is that I wish, and maybe they'll do this in Taiga, but I wish specifically for this movie they fleshed out a lot more of his philosophy, because Tregear sort of serves as the thwart to our heroes. He serves as a pinnacle of the antitheses to our heroes and their ideological struggles. So, something that I really like about Tregear is that one of his throwaway lines is that he says that in the world we'll always have lust and envy after wealth and family and friends, and that no matter how much family, how much love you have, there are still going to be people that envy you. And I wish they did a little bit more of that, because Snake Darkness serves as the sort of perfect, I guess, component to that extension, because he views Katsumi as a hypocrite. There's one point where Katsumi tells, Toy, that he is in fact Ultraman while they're fighting, and Toy says, "Oh, all these years you told me you were nobody, you were nothing, and now you're Ultraman?" And this is more of a problem with the movie itself. I wish the movie would have developed Toy a little better. Toy has this sort of untapped rage and anger against people, because Toy says to Tregear that he wants to destroy and step on the people that wronged him. But my question is, who actually wronged Toy? Because the whole point of Toy's motivation is that he wants to get back at people. And the best way I could compare him is someone such as Dr. Mifune from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. They're both these people who live in their houses, isolated from society, who believe that people have generally always been against them from the very beginning, and they're secretly trying to root them out. And so they want to get back at those people for making their lives miserable by making their lives miserable. But unlike Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, I actually saw the scientists and the people who laughed at Dr. Mifune. But in this movie, I'm asking myself, who actually wronged Toy? His mother seems like someone who generally supported him all the time. Katsumi definitely had a high regard of him. Who actually did Toy wrong? Was it the game company? Because if so, I didn't really get to see Snake Darkness attack the game company that wronged him with the generic job, or any people who doubted his abilities within the game industry. I just wish the movie would have done more, because then I would be able to rationalize and at least understand Toy's ideology. He keeps saying that people had wronged him, but he had friends such as Katsumi, and Katsumi viewed him as a very inspirational person. So if you're showing the only interaction I have with Toy from the past being a positive one, then how can I believe that he turns out to be this methodical villain that Tregear is able to use? You see, this is one of the biggest problems with Ultraman. They don't really focus on these sort of aspects that actually provide any sort of story logic. So, in my opinion, I think Toy could have definitely used a lot more development. I wasn't really buying the fact that he was a villain. Toy keeps talking about the fact that he doesn't have friends or family, but if he doesn't show us why, I think what this movie could have done, and what I would have done personally, even if it is generic, it would have provided a reason to why Toy's the way he is. Maybe show Toy in the game industry getting bullied, or getting him demoted from his position. Show somebody else that they believe to be more qualified get the position, whereas Toy resents them, because Tregear in the movie talks about being envious, and how that is the greatest greed of human nature. So maybe show Toy have a rivalry with somebody such as Isame, who wants to go to college, and Isame gets the chance to go to college in the United States, something that Toei wanted, so that provides him a reason to not like not only just Katsumi, because there's really no reason for him not to like Katsumi, just by the fact that he gets annoyed by him, but otherwise Katsumi is someone who respects him. Show the fact that he doesn't like Isame because he took his dream away of going to school in America to learn about game design, but Isame is trying to become a scientist and took that position from him. You see, right there, I already created a much better motivation just off the top of my head while making this video than Super Eye Productions could have had months to really just flesh out Toei. But because, again, they don't really think about this sort of aspect about character development, Toei just ends up being a throwaway emo teenager that just becomes a monster because the movie just tells him to in the script. So overall, I thought Toei was a pretty lackluster villain. I know I was supposed to talk about Tregear, and I really got sidetracked with Toei, but overall, I thought Toei was a really weak character. I think some of the moments with him are pretty funny and pretty cool, but he's an ultimately weak character, and that shows ultimately why he isn't the villain. Tregear, on the other hand, Tregear almost suffers from the same aspect. I don't know why Tregear is doing what he does, but again, not every Ultra, I guess, who's a villain has to have this sort of motivation anyway. That might get a little bit too complicated then for kids. Tregear, I actually like some aspects about Tregear. Again, one of my favorite aspects about him is whenever he opened a portal, it really reminded me of Yapul, how Yapul would just travel from place to place, dimension to dimension, planet to planet. Tregear, whenever he would open a portal, you just hear him laugh like, I actually thought that was pretty cool. Tregear as an Ultraman character, he's actually a pretty cool fighter. I like seeing Tregear fight because Tregear fights in this way where he's just very, he's very condescending. That's what I love about Tregear. That's the word I was looking for. Tregear is one of the most condescending Ultra villains that I've ever seen, and I love that because it makes him really hateable, but also you love him because he is so cunning. And so even when Tregear fights, you can tell that he just generally views whoever he's fighting as just to be silly, below him, or inferior to him. So I really like Tregear in that regard. I also like one of the lines about Tregear. This is the kind of line that he has in the final moments of the film. When Ultraman Group emerges, they talk about how the strongest bond is family and that they are going to enshroud with goodwill upon the world. And Tregear, before he gets into the final battle, says the strongest concepts are sadness and loneliness, which are some of the concepts that kind of fit into Toei that they didn't really flesh out, unfortunately, so I don't buy into that. But it's also the antithesis to our main characters because they all believe in family and having each other's backs and being friends, even if you're not tied by blood. So when Tregear says that sadness and loneliness are the strongest bonds, it serves as the great thwart, as the antithesis for what our heroes have come so far, not just in this movie, but also across the entire series, to actually stand for, ideologically represent. So yeah, I thought Tregear was pretty good. I think he was a pretty alright villain. Alright, let's take a look at Katsumi and Isame. Katsumi, he was a pretty alright character in this movie. He's not my favorite. Actually, he's a pretty good character. But I will say this, though. He talks about in the entire movie about having this dream. But his dream just basically turned out to be his father's dream, which is getting into the fashion business. I wish they gave Katsumi a different dream versus just becoming a family business person. Even though that is what he states to Toei in the beginning, it's implied that he's going to get a different dream, because if he really wanted to be the family business owner, he would have become that at the very beginning of the movie. And so it kind of defeats the purpose of him going through this sort of journey to discover what his true dream is, when he's practically left at the very same spot that he was at the beginning of the movie, which is being inside the father's fashion shop. However, he does go somewhere else, which is trying to seek out his father's friend, but it's still going to have the same implications, the same end result in the end. So I thought Katsumi was okay. I did like how this movie focused on him more, and overall I found him to be pretty compelling, especially in the ultimatum, when Tregear talks to him and gives him that decision, that fateful moment where he says, you can either be an Ultraman, or you can be a human, live your normal life. That's where I thought Katsumi as a character really shined. Not taking the personal, individualistic answer, but taking the moral obligation as an Ultra Warrior and saving the Pigmons from Mecha Gamora. I thought that was pretty cool. Isame's okay. I didn't really think too much about him. I like how he goes along with the dad and his Falcon 1 antics. I thought that was pretty cool. He's a pretty alright character. The dad, he's pretty funny. Again, I thought the Falcon 1 park scene, one of the funniest moments I'd ever seen in a video or a movie in a long time, which was pretty great. Riku is pretty good in this movie. I wish there was more time. There's something that this movie really misses. In a lot of the Ultraman movies, there's usually moments where the senior Ultra as well as the junior Ultra or the pupil are able to spend time with each other. In this movie, however, Riku doesn't really mentor Katsumi and Isame too much. And I can understand the reason why, because if you actually think about it, I just realized something weird. Katsumi and Isame are actually older than Riku, which is pretty weird to think about. I think Riku is, 18 or 17? And Katsumi and Isame are 20 or 22? That's really funny to think about, the fact that Riku is younger than these characters, but is supposed to be their senior in terms of who's been Ultraman the longest. But I wish that Riku just had more time to just flesh out learning about these characters and getting to know them a little bit better. The dinner scene's pretty good, but I wish there was just more mentoring between the three, which didn't really happen, unfortunately, which I guess makes sense because they're all around the same age, if not some are older than younger, which would have made it seem a little bit odd. I thought Riku was a pretty okay character. It's funny because in the movie they implied in the beginning that Riku may have liked Asahi. Not just the fact that they were seen together in the park, but also after the dinner. The two are just talking to each other about their families and how Asahi, similar to Riku, is part of a strange family line. Asahi isn't related to her family. Riku has family, but his family is abusive in the form of Belial. And they imply that the two are getting together. Even Katsumi watches it, but it's pretty funny to think about because holy cow, Riku has so many love interests. He had Iru, or whatever her name was, in the Geed movie, in the series. He has Laiha and Moa, and now he has Asahi? Come on, Riku, make up your mind already. Either way, though, I thought the characters in the movie were pretty alright. They were pretty good. In regards to some of the other characters, the background characters, such as the mom, the Roxo and Blue's mom, it was nice to see her return again. It was pretty interesting to see her as the head CEO, the head scientist of Aizen Tech. Pretty cool that she got the position. The mother of Toi, or Yukio, she was a pretty alright character, but there was one moment that I actually really liked with her, and that was when Riku was looking to Toi's mother, and Toi's mother just simply nodded, as if she was implicitly saying, you know what to do, Riku. You know what you have to do to save the day. It's not even that she said, save my son, or go help him, or snap him back out of it. It's just that they looked at each other, and they just nodded. And I thought that scene was actually really well executed, because it showed that you don't always need to say something in a movie in order for people to understand it. You could just show through expression, through actual acting, and you don't need to explicitly say, hey, save the day, but you can instead just show it, and the audience will get the very same message that you're trying to imply to us, because the audience isn't as dumb as some people think. But either way, though, I thought the mother was pretty okay. Toi, again, I didn't really like his character too much. I wish they could have done a lot more with him. In regards to the Ultraman form of the movie, well, actually Ultra forms of the movie, because we have Ultra Woman Grigio. Ultra Woman Grigio, she's pretty alright. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know what to say about her. She's just all over the place. She says, happy, happy, happy. I mean, oh my goodness, I forgot how much she talked about happiness. Saki appeared in this movie. I almost forgot to say that. Saki just appears, and you know, it's cool that Saki is this happy character too, but if you really think about it, Saki has committed so much destruction and murder against innocent civilians with all of her monsters since, I believe, her first appearance. So whenever I see Saki, I just say, okay, time for you to get back to being dead, because at least I still don't forgive you for destroying the city so many times and killing all those innocent people, all for the sake of trying to, I guess, get back because of your brothers. But either way, though, Saki appears and she gives Asahi the form of Ultra Woman Grigio, and that scene, it was pretty cool. I actually liked the scene where Grigio Regina just burst out and where it literally bursts in half and you have Grigio come out of it almost as if it were a cocoon coming out. And I thought that was pretty cool. Ultra Woman Grigio was pretty weak as a fighter, I'm not gonna lie. I love it when Trigger just punches her and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, little girl," and she goes flying. I thought she was pretty okay. It was pretty interesting to see a female Ultraman. There's not really many female Ultramen, and in fact, it's pretty weird because I'm surprised there haven't been any Me Too liberal feminists that have hopped on the Ultraman train, because I would imagine that a lot of liberals in California or all across the US would say, "Hey Ultraman, why is it always Ultraman? Why haven't you have an entire series just called Ultra Woman?" You know? But they haven't done that because I don't know why they haven't done that. I'm surprised why no liberals have hopped on that. There aren't many female Ultras, so when you get a female Ultraman, it's hit or miss, I would say. I'd say this one, Ultra Woman Grigio's okay. I think she's alright. I like how optimistic she is, but I'm not sure if she would be one of my favorite Ultra characters. She's just alright. The Ultraman Fusion, Ultraman Groob, alright. Alright, Ultraman Groob. First of all, that name is just hilarious. But second of all, let me just say this real quick. This movie's not gonna age well. Almost, I think at least 70 to 80%, at most 90% of Ultraman Groob's appearance in this movie is just pure CGI. And let me tell you, the CGI is not that great. I would say that Nexus had better CGI. I would say the Ultraman X movie had better CGI. The CGI in this movie is just not believable. Not at all. You can definitely tell you're looking at something animated. I don't know why we need a CGI. I can understand that for some of the flying sequences, maybe have some CGI, because there are some things that they do in this movie, the fast, rapid movements and the curtailing that you wouldn't be able to do with a practical suit or let's say a toy prop. But just seeing the CGI Ultraman Groob, it almost felt as if I was watching a fan film. Now, if this were a fan film made like one of those Ultraman for Kids videos, that looks pretty cool. That looks pretty awesome. It looks like one of those Ultraman for Kids videos that you would see on YouTube get recommended to you with those animated Ultraman models. It looked as if I was watching that, but this is an actual Super 8 Productions movie. Now, I will say this. I know that Japan doesn't have as good a CGI as, say, Hollywood, so my standards for Japanese CGI are low, but I just think it was so excessive. Even the moments where Groob is just standing around or he's fighting on the ground, they still use CGI. And I just think that if this movie had only used CGI for some of the flying scenes, maybe that would have worked better, because even in the olden days, let's just take a look to the olden days, even in some of the older shows, such as Tiga or Nexus, or even the original Ultraman Ultra 7, when they would have flying scenes, they would sometimes cut to shots of the suit flying, but it would just be an angle of them having their arms out, but just tilted sideways. So they would rotate the shot a little bit, so it looked as if they were flying in the air, but they were in fact just standing on something. And I think that was pretty cool, because it would sometimes jump from the model flight to sometimes CGI, depending if you're watching the newer shows, but it would jump back to the actual suit actor reacting to, say, an explosion or firing a beam position, as if the Ultraman was really there flying. But because they don't do that, I'm just watching all this CGI flying over the place. And let me tell you, it may look pretty okay now, but trust me, in a few years, in a few decades, this movie is gonna age horribly because of the CGI. I don't think the CGI was necessary, especially that much. I'm gonna be honest, the CGI, I'm gonna be straightforward, the CGI took me out of the movie. I was really enjoying the movie, I was really enjoying the fight, and I knew it was going to come because I'd actually watched the Ultraman Rube trailer last year before the movie even came out. I remember watching the trailer, seeing the CGI, and thinking, hold on, is this actually real? I remember just being so flabbergasted at the CGI, and so I knew this part was coming in the movie. I knew that as soon as Groob appeared, they were going to show the CGI, but then when they showed the transformation sequence, the rise sequence where he's standing on the ground, he's CGI, it bugs me because Ultraman Geed is a real suit. But here you have Ultraman Groob, he's just moving around, this animated, it's so unnatural, it's so plastic, it's just really weird. It's uncanny to look at. We can obviously tell it's not realistic. It doesn't look real at all. It's not convincing. But even in the parts where Ultraman Groob is on the ground and he's fighting Snake Darkness, it's still CGI for the most part. And I just couldn't buy it. There was one part where at the end of the battle, Ultraman Groob and Ultraman Geed do the little fist bump thing, and it's just so awkward to look at. So I'm just going to be honest, I did not like Ultraman Groob. Not only is the name pretty silly, but the effects were not as great either. It's I don't know what to say. It's just, I didn't really like it. Snake Darkness is a monster. The monster suit is pretty cool. I like the design of it, but I wish one arm or one hand wasn't bigger than the other. That just made it look really awkward, in my opinion. I don't understand why they designed it like that. That was a pretty weird design choice. Overall, though, I thought this movie was okay. I thought some of the writing was better for most Ultraman movies, but the fights were pretty okay. The fights they were okay. Overall, I thought this movie was alright. Just, there were a lot of problems I still had with it. Either way, though, what did you guys think about the Ultraman Room movie? I ultimately enjoyed it, but this movie's not going to age well. I don't know, I feel as if this movie's going to be looked over in a few years. What do you guys think about this movie? Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.